Hey, Warners, this is your warning that the following episode of Women Your Mother Warned You About went a bit rogue from the beginning. You know, one of those episodes where we started the show before we started the show. You know, we were recording and then things happened. So put on your big girl panties and buckle up for the ride with Rachel Pitts, Kieth Walters, and yours truly, Gina Tremarco. Hey, Warners, welcome to another episode of the Women Your Mother Warned You About. This is a rogue episode, so let's just get that out there right now. Who's back with us? Kieth Walters. What?
Oh, my. Keith. Hello, ladies.
Hello,
Kieth Walters. I actually saw Kieth in person a couple of weeks ago in Dallas.
I know. Did he take you to dinner?
We went to dinner.
Where did he take you?
I don't know. It wasn't.
Where'd you take her?
The food
Some
wasn't,
nice restaurant.
The food wasn't as important as the conversation. Plus, I'm in prep, so like I have to eat all like plain.
It was great eating. It was great eating with Rachel. You know, we get the plates, and so she pops her scale out. You know, and starts weighing all the portions.
Did she weigh? Did she weigh the food?
Yeah,
yes.
She weighed the food.
I'm in prep. I weigh everything.
I've never seen you weigh the food with me.
Because I probably wasn't in prep.
Oh, okay.
Or I had already pre-weighed the food.
There we go.
Oh. I'm just talking about when, like, we were in Thompson, like the one of the 5 Mexican restaurants in Thompson, Georgia.
I wasn't really in prep yet. I was just eating whatever.
All right. Anyway,
she was
I'll
being
show
very
you my
serious.
scale. I'll show you my scale.
The scale is impressive. Ooh, look at those guns.
Ooh, look at the guns.
Getting there.
Yeah.
Look at the guns.
So speaking of coaching, we were talking about coaching right before we got onto this podcast with Kieth. And so now I have, I just actually got a new coach. So it's like a testament to people that think that, you know, they're concerned of whether they should hire a coach or not. Well,
how many coaches do you have?
A nutrition coach. And because I wanted to have the best experience possible, there's actually a training group who specializes in the training for this particular division of bodybuilding, which is bikini that I'm in right now. So I hired a new trainer. So she's changed up all of my programming, which is all this crazy new stuff. And I'm excited about that. And then I have my, even though I am now certified as a level 3 mental management coach, I still maintain my mental management coach with Heather.
So wait a second. Are we talking about coaching today?
I just brought that up. We could. Coaching's a great topic.
Coaching's hot on my mind as the director of coaching programs at Sales Gravy, the company that sponsors this podcast now. And someone is up my, you know what?
You're what? We don't know what. What is?
Somebody is.
Are you getting overcoached, Gina?
No, I'm not being overcoached, but now I have to report to someone. You know, something I wasn't used to, and
her overlord needs more coaching contracts. I wonder if he would like the word overlord.
I don't think he would.
That's what he is, though.
Yeah, he is the overlord.
He's like the kingpin of Sales Gravy. We're talking about Jeb Blunt, and we adore him. But
yes, we do. He signs my paycheck.
Yeah. Well,
So you're not getting enough coaching, Gina? What's the coaching issue there?
Do we really want to? It's all good.
Don't open it up. If you're
I
not
am just expanding the program and building it into something bigger, badder, and better. That's all.
Good for you.
That's all. So if you need a coach, give me a call.
There you go.
Actually, I was selling you today, Rachel.
Thank you.
I think I have a potential client for you, coaching client.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, and I have figured out in the last, I've had some clarity in the last little bit about trying to be too many things. And what I found is that I am really great at coaching people at the things that I specialize in. I'm really great coaching at dancers. I'm really great coaching people in fitness. I'm really great coaching people in real estate to focus on their goals so they can be better salespeople. And so it's been interesting for me to have that kind of enlightenment, which Gina knew the whole time. It's so annoying.
Somebody called it.
So what for Rachel, for you, all the coaches that you use, what is the value that you get from them? Is it someone who's accountability? Is it someone who forces change? What aspect of it is it that you find the most valuable?
100% accountability. I have, ever since I hired my first coach, which was Gina, I have done very well having a coach on whatever level that I'm trying to improve my life in, or whatever, whichever area of my life I'm trying to improve my life, that is, because I like having accountability to somebody that I do what I say I'm going to do. And especially, probably the hardest part about my bodybuilding journey right now is the nutrition part is really hard. And it causes me to pull out my scale and weigh my fish at dinner because I know I need to get it right. And the reason that I need to get the nutrition right is because these people know what they're doing. They breed champion horses, really. So if I follow what they say and do what they say, then my nutrition and my prep is going to go well because they've done it over and over and they have a great system, and it's hard. And so it takes accountability. And I have a weekly check-in with my coach. She checks, I track everything I eat all day. I take my weight every single day, my sleep patterns, my water intake, my sodium intake, and they track all of that. And if I'm not within 1 to 2 grams of what I'm supposed to be, then I get a little lashing. And then I get back on track. In terms of my new performance coach, my fitness coach, I mean, I know what I'm doing in the gym, but even when you know what you're doing in a situation, it's good to have outside eyes to force you to do things that you kind of don't want to do. So like all of my programming is different now, totally different exercises that I actually was kind of afraid to even try. Now here I am doing them, and I've got somebody to guide me and also to push me where I need push. Because as much as I'm very consistent and I can push myself, I kind of will get into a habit. And I think that's one thing that a coach is really great, is to make sure that you're not developing habits that are going to cause you to plateau and not get anywhere. Because everybody, if you're getting a coach in sales or if you're getting a coach in fitness or whatever, you don't just want to stay where you're at. You want to improve in the areas where you need improvement, right?
Yeah, well, why would you get a coach if you don't want to improve?
Exactly.
What's the point of that, just to say you have a coach?
Yeah, it's interesting that there's, and especially in fitness, coaching people in fitness, they will want to change. And then when the real work comes, sometimes they don't actually really want to change, because if they did, then they would change the behavior.
That's one thing that I've really definitely have experienced through the process, right? Like I've coached you through getting personal trainer clients, and I've been through that process with you of what it's like in the mindset to get them to decide to do it and to spend the money. And now that I'm going through that from just dealing with sales professionals, and I've really identified who our ideal clients are at Sales Gravy, which are high performing salespeople who want to take it to the next level. And so it's been interesting to look at that. You have to be so hungry and high performing that you're already doing the things, but you want to go to the next level. The people who are way at the bottom of like, I wish, where hope is their strategy, and that's their only strategy is hope, they're not most ideal, because you have to pull them along with you. Mm-hmm. And it's painful, and they're not always going to do the work. Mm-hmm. They'll spend the money because they're looking for a silver bullet. And I'm trying to learn how to get through we're not your silver bullet.
Yeah, there's no magic. There's just figuring out what is the best, most efficient process to get towards the goal.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't want a client that's in pain per se. I want them in a place of, I'm doing good, I want to do better.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like your best clients would be lifelong learners.
Yeah.
And do you get pushback on selling coaching. I already know what I'm doing. I don't need a coach. Do you get that much?
Yeah, but I'm not even going after them. I mean, I guess I could be going after them, but that would be a cold calling, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not going after the cold call lead. I'm going after, Jeb and I had this conversation the other day. I've been kind of pushing on this every time I teach one of our public courses, like a 2-hour workshop. Always, every single time, I get a follow-up text. Now, I purposely give them my cell phone. Hey, if you got questions, text me. Run your homework by me via text, because I tell them I'm really bad right now at email. I can't keep up with email. If you want to get me fast, text me. And I give them all my phone number. And I got 3 text messages within 5 minutes of my course ending saying, can I talk to you about coaching?
Excellent.
Those are my best clients, potential clients, because they're raising their hand going, I want this. Now, the ones that I go after that maybe they came in as an inbound lead, the conversion rate is way lower than the conversion rate on someone who's actually been in a course with me. And that was, those are the analytics this week.
Yep. Those are learners.
And Jeb's like, what do
they
you
know you?
Jeb's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just mentioning that I coach. I'm not selling it. I just say, when I was coaching one of my clients on this thing, this is what happened. And that's all I do. I just talk about results and I don't sell it.
And yet it sells itself. And that's exactly why I engaged the training coach that I engaged, because I have been working with my nutrition coaches for a while, and I'm seeing, hey, there's like some consistent patterns here of the people that are working with Bare Aesthetics for nutrition, that they're going over here and getting, they're working with the partner trainers at Performance, Progressive Performance 2. And I'm seeing them coming out placing well. So it's like the obvious thing when you see, hey, Gina is really an awesome trainer and she's personable and funny and all these things, then obviously they're going to go, hey, I do want this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you don't even have to sell it. It's just results sell.
That's just it. Results sell. I'm curious, Kieth, because you do a lot of executive coaching, don't you? Or
I do.
Had at one point?
I work with executives. My approach and style is more mentoring than coaching, though I do fall into coaching on a regular basis.
So how do your clients come to you? Like, how do you end up with those clients?
They're personal relationships, usually extensions of relationships, word of mouth, through professional networks.
They hear that Kieth's the bomb, and they just come running.
And they're all learners. They're dedicated in learning. And in order to work with me, before I sign on a client has to demonstrate their learner. And it's usually through some required reading. Side
note, I've read almost all the books that you've mentioned. I read the Netflix No Rules. I think there was something else you recommended. I'm super duper into the John Wooden on Leadership. Wooden on
Leadership. Great book.
What is it
good.
Called?
It's called Wooden on Leadership. And he was the coach of the UCLA basketball team that won like 10 championships. And what's so fascinating, I mean, here's why I am thinking that I'm going to try to stop swearing as much as possible.
Yeah, she texted me today that she's going to start swearing, which will make Trisha at Sales Gravy very happy.
Well, his point that Coach Wooden makes is he would not allow his players to swear. And his reasoning was this, is that most of the time when we swear, it's because we're frustrated and angry, which I would agree, because the F-bombs fall faster and more frequently when I'm annoyed or hangry.
Especially when you're hangry.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's ugly.
Well, it's also ugly to speak that way. And sometimes, you just, fuck is just what you need to say. But sometimes I overuse it. And his point is that you're not showing up as the very, very best version of yourself if you're using that type of language. And he's very big on, he never really talked about winning. even so they won a lot. He was very much about the process and forming the team and the pyramid of success that he's developed, which is fantastic, and teamwork and positivity and doing your very, very best each and every moment. And he just points out that like swearing and dirty language, foul language, just it's not his players being at their best. And I was like, darn it. He's right. I'm not being at my best when I'm swearing like a sailor, because I'm not.
Sometimes I just like it. Just feels
Sometimes I just like it. That is true. Sometimes just you fucking need to say fuck. But like in general, like because he's right that I am most of the time angry or hangry when my language is the most foul. Either
That's
that or I'm backstage at Legends in Concert when I'm being hilarious. But
the other nice aspect of holding back on that is then when you do, it makes impact.
True.
If you want to demonstrate anger, then you can bring that tool out to demonstrate anger.
Right.
You can use it purposefully. Otherwise, it becomes something like a
Yeah.
just meaningless words.
Yeah,
I
So
would agree.
it's great. And this whole book, you read
the book Coach Wooten's Pyramid of Success?
the book is called Wooden on
I
Leadership.
can't find it in
it's not in Audible.
It's an older book.
You have
Okay.
to get the real book.
I have to
I can let you
read.
Yeah,
I would
you
have to read it.
Yes, with your eyes.
You actually have to do that.
I would have to read with my eyes.
With your
All right.
or you could have your boyfriend read it aloud to you.
He would do that.
Which is so fun.
He would do that for me.
Sounds like he'll do anything for
He'll
you.
do anything for me.
Rachel, one of the things you mentioned was about he does talk about winning, but not about the importance of winning.
Right.
One of the best things he talks about is that winning is a byproduct
Yes.
of excellence, of operational excellence, of doing the things that need to be done. And that just goes into the business world of profit is a byproduct. Those are exhausts of doing your best, not the goal. He
Right.
never has winning as the goal.
What does he have as the goal?
Be the very best you can be
Excellent.
every time.
I like that.
Always give your best and do it with character.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the great stories in the book is he's recruiting a top recruit. The recruit comes out to California. The recruit and his mom comes out to California. And Coach Wooden is showing them around. And the recruit's mother asks Coach Wooden a question. And the recruit turns to his mother and says something about, hush, Mom, that's kind of a silly question. It was at that moment that this very top basketball player, Coach Wooden, decided he is not going to be on the team.
Yeah, I actually read that part last night, and he was the recruit was more harsh to his mom. He told her to shut up and just let the coach talk.
Right.
So
and that ended his recruiting right there.
Yep. He's like, nope, not going to be a part of our team. And I think that's it's so huge in the culture of an organization that if you've got somebody who is not a good fit and they're negative and they don't have their eyes on the same prize as the rest of the team, it's really detrimental to the entire team. I've watched it. I have somebody close to me who's got an organization, and there was this individual that just was a cancer. And I pointed it out a few times, like, this person is bringing everyone down, also not doing their job, and they're getting paid a fortune. So like, why is this individual still around? Lo and behold, they're gone finally.
And they should have been gone a long time ago.
A long time ago.
And they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
And they shouldn't have been there in the first place. And those cancerous individuals, for lack of a better term, they know when they're there, and they know their power.
Yes.
They know their power.
But again, it's a leadership issue too. Who brought them in? Right, Kieth?
Right. Who brought them in, and more importantly, who didn't show them the door? Yeah. Because hiring mistakes happen all the time.
Sure.
the mistakes are in not firing.
Yeah. And not firing soon enough and feeling bad about people's feelings. And we just had a podcast with Kieth Gordon, and she said there's no room for feelings in business. It has to be business, and you can have feelings, but you can't have feelings like, oh, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings when they're a cancer to the organization. And
or even if you mentioned another great book, which is Reed Hastings' No Rules, which is the story behind the Netflix culture. And throughout that book, he references Patty McCord as somebody who was fantastic, who got let go when the position outgrew her. She helped build Netflix, and then she got let go because the position outgrew her. So it's not just the jerk, but one of the things in that book that was fascinating was it referenced an experiment in a university in Australia where they created these teams of 4 people, and on each team of 4 person, unknowing to the rest of the team members, they seeded one person on the team with an actor. And the actor was either kind of an ass, or they were disengaged, sitting back or whatever, or some other negative behavior. And the teams were put together for an hour. And what they noticed in the teams with the bad actors, the folks didn't elevate to the highest. They descended to the lowest. All the team's behavior descended to the lowest denominator. So this idea of we'll hire somebody good and that'll bring everybody else up, it actually works the other way. Everybody gets pulled down to the lowest level, whoever the lowest denominator on the team.
And now a word from our fabulous sponsor, Jeb Blunt at Sales Gravy.
Hi, this is Jeb Blunt. There's a reason why thousands of sales professionals and top companies across the globe hone their sales skills at Sales Gravy University. You see, Sales Gravy University is different than most learning platforms. First, we have live courses taught in a virtual classroom by our master trainers that start almost every single day. And our e-learning platform is populated with hundreds of hours of sales training content produced by some of the top sales trainers in the world, including Gina's spontaneous selling course, which is worth checking out. Now, I've got some good news. If you've never taken a course on Sales Gravy University, if you're a new user, you can take your very first course for free. That's any course on the platform, absolutely free. Just go to learn.salesgravy.com. That's learn.salesgravy.com, or click the e-learning tab in the top menu at salesgravy.com. Pick out your course, and when you check out, use coupon code FREECOURSE to get that course for free. That is free course to get your very first course for free.
Speaking of Sales Gravy University, go check out salesgravy.university and see some of the courses that I'm teaching. Just scroll through the university and click on them, and you will find me and sign up. I'd love to have you there.
Yeah, I'm kind of dealing with that in some things in my life right now.
So you're seeing that in some of your work, huh?
I am seeing some interesting things. And this book is really helpful to me because it's showing me that kind of thing, that if everybody is not pulling towards elevating the team in general, it doesn't work. Everybody has to be on the same trajectory of where the team in general is going. And you've got the employees who just phone it in and they're there to like work their hours and do their things. But at least if they're still, on the team heading towards the goal actively rather than deterring the team from getting there.
I had to have I wouldn't call it a difficult or crucial conversation, but kind of maybe I will call it that. Something happened today that sent me into a tizzy.
Uh-oh.
Which I'm like, all right, I got to go to Jeb with this because a ball got dropped on some things. And I texted him very briefly because I know brief is good with him in text. And then he asked me to email him in detail. So I emailed him in detail what happened. And I started
Did I do it?
No, you're clear on this one. And I started it with, we dropped the ball as a team. That's how I started the email, is we dropped the ball as a team on this. And I will take accountability for pieces of this. But part of it was some things needed to be a little more streamlined, and everyone's to blame, right? Like everyone plays a part in it. And I didn't want to have to send the email because I don't want anyone to feel like they're being thrown under the bus. But you have to step back and ask yourself, where did I go wrong in this process? And take accountability for my part in it. And ultimately what happened is coming to him and sharing it, because I was extremely frustrated. And even my text said, I said, I'm so angry. I'm trying to get emotional control right now, so I'm not calling you until I have emotional control.
I'm so glad it's not me.
No, it was just, it was just something in the process that had to be better, to be who we are. And we're all leaders in some capacity, no matter what your role is in an organization. You're still a leader, and you have to have some level of accountability and responsibility, and then go to the leader above you and say, some of these things have to change.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing that I got out of the no rules that Kieth suggested, is that it is important in an organization for people who are not the top leader, let's call it, like the top corporate leader, whomever, that everyone should feel comfortable to bring issues that they've noticed to the table, like what you're just talking about, Gina, that it's really great that Jeb has created this type of culture that you can come to him no matter where you are in the organization and say, hey, this I noticed and this is my suggestion. And he loves that. And good organizations, as they've demonstrated in Netflix, have that type of thing going on, that just because you're an entry-level salesperson doesn't mean that you can't notice something really important that could be an asset to the entire organization.
Right. And a good leader is going to be open to hearing that from that person who is brand new or doesn't have a lot of experience. It goes back to yes and improv of yes anding someone and being open to what they have to say and letting them speak their mind.
And one of the things that's great about Netflix is they actually train on that. They call it constructive candor, and everybody gets trained on how to do the candor, because it has to be done. And their phrase is has to be done with love. It can't be, Kieth, you suck. It's got to be constructive.
And that's hard in itself too.
And that's why
because if you're frustrated,
that's why the training is so good, because it teaches how to do it. I don't know if you're familiar with. There's a woman by the name of Kim Scott, and she wrote a book called Radical Candor, and they follow that kind of process.
I have that book
as well. And even if you don't read it, she has a great. Just look at the images around it online, because it talks about the different kind of so-called candor or feedback, and some of it is pretty dysfunctional, but done right, it's not personal. It's about how do you make things better.
Right. And this is interesting that you bring that up, because that is exactly where I'm at right now with a scenario that I'm dealing with. Is there's things that need to be said, and I am trying to figure out the best way that's going to be constructive and not just hurt people's feelings, and that they, feel like they're being attacked, and that it's kind of it's the skill. Well, like making sure your emotions are not in there.
Well, keep in mind, here's the other half to that, Rachel. We don't want people to feel attacked, but people who feel attacked, chances are they always feel attacked. And so then that becomes a whole other issue in itself, that no matter how much candor and how much love you give, they're going to feel attacked. And there's at what point how long do you hold back because you're worried about someone's emotions?
True.
I mean, what do you think, Kieth?
Yeah, I don't think you can worry about someone's emotions. I think you have to frame it properly, and that's not necessarily saying that you don't soft sell it. How is it good for them? To circle it back to coaching, it's interesting when you hire a coach, you are opening yourself up purposely to candor. That's the whole point of it is, oh, I want somebody to be candid with me. And I think there are people who are challenged with other people being candid with them.
Mm-hmm.
And also part of it is they're, guilty as charged. I'll charge myself. There are times when, I don't deliver the message in the best manner. The candor may be a little bit too emotionally charged. No, not too candid, but too emotionally charged.
Yeah. That's why I keep hesitating with, I'm just in the middle of doing what I got to do. And
now we're both very familiar with what you're going through on that. And so my permission to coach you.
Let's have some coaching. Let's have some live coaching.
I think part of your reluctance or hesitation or thoughtfulness, which is not a bad thing. How do I put this?
You can be candid.
You're overthinking it because you're fearful of something, and I'm not quite sure what you're fearful of, but you are overthinking this with them. Whereas I don't know about Kieth, but outside looking in, I'm like, effing just pull the trigger already. Like,
yeah.
But something is holding you back. It's a fear of something. I don't know what the fear is.
Yeah. I'm not really fearful of any outcomes because I'm 100% confident about the direction that we're going.
Then why aren't you pulling the trigger faster?
Well, right now I'm in the day-to-day of what I'm doing, and the process is moving itself forward with or without the conversation. The conversation needs to be there because because they need to understand. Right now they think that they think, actually, I don't really know what they think. They just are completely clueless, and I have to lay out the facts of what they're missing because they're missing the big picture.
You've tried laying out the facts several times from what I can observe. And so I relate this back to, and Keith's going to have more experience with this, of managing the wrong team. And when I'm managing the wrong team, I can lay out the facts and lead them to water and give them everything, and they're still going to mess it up, and I'm still going to be aggravated, and I'm still going to try to make it work. And I know that they're not going to be there forever, but I keep them there, I don't know, as a way of self-abuse. I don't know, because I'm fearful of letting them go for some reason. Because you've been going through this for weeks.
There's a protection element there. It is the old adage of, a tiger doesn't change his stripes. And this is where I get sideways in organizations with HR. Work the person through the change, work the person through the change, work the person through the change. I think one of the first books we ever talked about was a book by Marcus Buckingham called First Break All the Rules. It led to Strengths Finders, if you're familiar with that. But the breaking the rules, his biggest rule to break is you don't spend time with underperformers. Every moment of time you spend with an underperformer is a moment of time you don't spend with an achiever.
80-20 rule.
And if you're working with an underperformer, you're trying to get them up to 100%. If you're working with the achiever, you're moving them from 100% to 200%. That same amount of time. Why spend any time with underachievers? Now, there are some exceptions like, oh, this person just needs education. They have the talent, And I think you'll remember the quote from the Wooden book. It's like Coach Wooden said, I'll take a person with talent over experience every day. It's that hesitancy to pull the trigger. And I would say the longer it lasts, the harder it is.
Yeah.
And the sooner you act, the more relief you will feel.
Roger that.
It's like having an infection and you keep putting a Band-Aid on it when you really need to go to the ER, have it cleaned out, stitched up, and antibiotics. And right now you're just putting Neosporin on it.
And there's a tendency to avoid. And for me, I had to learn how, okay, I want to avoid this. I want to avoid this. I want to avoid this. And how do I can't avoid it. Because it doesn't just impact me. Mm-hmm. It has a larger impact on everybody else.
Yes.
That is definitely what's happening here too.
Yeah. And then people lose faith in you because they're standing there going, why is she not doing something about this?
Yeah, so it goes to that. It goes to the question or point of, are you in a leadership role? Are you doing the best for all the stakeholders? And the other stakeholders are your clients, mm-hmm. your students, all the other stakeholders. So.
Yes, leadership is an interesting thing to experience.
It's painful. It is painful. And you have to make decisions. I wrote an article early on in the pandemic about leadership. And, leadership isn't just getting people to follow you and motivating and moving them forward. Leadership is about making painful decisions. And I use the analogy because I learned a lot about leadership from my father, and my father fought in World War II. He was, older. And leadership at the toughest level, you can go into the military, and that is making a decision to send men to their death. Mm. This is easy compared to that.
No kidding.
You're not sending anybody to
leadership is tough. Yeah. And people love leadership until it gets tough.
Yeah. And I actually don't mind I'm not really worried about it, because either way that it works out, any way that it works out, it's going to work out. I'm really trying to temper myself, because Gina can attest to the fact that sometimes I come across a little bit harsh. So I'm trying to temper that so that when the conversation happens, and it's actually happening tomorrow, that it comes from a place of, I want to help you, and this is how things are going to be because of this and this and this.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. And again, I'm gonna, and I know that you're working on this tomorrow. Here's what I've witnessed is that I know, Kieth knows, we all know how Rachel works, and what Rachel wants, Rachel gets, because Rachel works hard. And it is going to work out to how you want it to be. But along the way, you've had to have the grief and the pain with it, and it's prolonged. So imagine if
ridiculous,
right? If you would eliminate that pain, how much more amazing you would be, more so than you already are. So what happens is it becomes a suck. It drains you. You're exhausted from it. You talk about it. You get down about it. You get frustrated with it. That's a lot of wasted
energy.
Wasted energy.
Mm.
Yeah, and also, something you just said, Rachel, that I'll challenge you just a little bit on is, and I like to do that. So,
welcome back, Kieth.
You said there are two things in the conversation. One is how to point this person in the right direction, and the second was
how things are going to be.
How things are going to be. You need to change those two things.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
The first thing is how things are going to be. Mm-hmm. The second less priority thing is how you're going to direct that person. Because I would ask you, in relationship to the business that you run, once that person is gone, the pushing that person in a specific direction has nothing to do with the business now.
True.
And it has to do maybe with your relationship. In the businesses that I run, if we're going to let somebody go, everybody who is in a supervisory role who hires has to be able to fire. And before you can fire anybody, you've got to fire me. And it's one of the things, the techniques and firing people kind of comes with a job. And if I'm going to fire somebody, or somebody in my organization is going to fire somebody, it's a simple conversation. It is, Kieth, we bring you into the room with somebody else to witness. And it's like, this is tough, but we have decided to end our employment arrangement. And our conversation here is going to be about logistics. So that person then asks, why? And my response is, we're not here to talk about why. We have decided to terminate the employment relationship, and we're here to talk about how we're going to handle that.
So you don't even tell them why?
It's pointless.
There's no reason.
My role is to move my people along, like that company, and that person has been decided is not part of it. So now there's a secondary reason. Every reason I say why creates a legal opening.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
It's a whole nother Pandora's
one
box.
of my jobs is to protect the company and the other employees in the company. So it has to be for a valid reason. Don't get me wrong. It has to be for a valid reason, but we don't have to share the reason. In certain states, you might have to. In most states, you don't. Just like that person can quit and they don't have to share the reasons they quit.
And South Carolina is a right to work state. So
yeah,
there are those things.
Yeah. But it's the same, taking it back is I would just, to reprioritize. First priority is operationally what needs to happen. Second priority then is how do you want to work with that person to help them in some way?
Gotcha.
And in my example, by the way, we work with those people. We follow Netflix's deal of adequate performance will earn you a very generous severance package.
Yeah. And that's, that's kind of part of where I'm at as well is, if I've got a scenario that's holding the entire organization back from being at its best, then decisions have to be made.
And then there's a variety of other things that you have to take into consideration. Are these employees? Are these independent contractors? Or there's a whole other slew of things that you have to look at, especially from a legality standpoint.
Yeah. But your number one priority, hopefully, is toward the organization that you're trying to build.
100%.
And you need
all those people there.
And you need full energy to do that.
Yes.
With less distractions.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We started out talking about coaching, and
you got coached
into getting coaching, and I'm all about it. I love to have different perspectives, and I think that's one aspect that makes someone very coachable, and is to go, oh, okay, I didn't see it that way, so that. And that's one thing that a coach really does is says, hey, have you looked at it this way? Because I'm seeing this about what you're doing and saying, and then they can give you a different perspective. And not everybody is open to being coachable. I think that one reason I probably have had so many coaches is because I'm pretty coachable.
I've got a question for you guys because I'm working on a little project and I would like your feedback on this.
Oh.
When it comes to hiring a coach, what do you think a person should look for in hiring of a coach? If you had to come up with a top 10 list of reasons why to hire a coach or what to look for.
Knowledge of the subject that I'm trying to improve upon, credibility in that subject matter, and how do I feel like my personality meshes with that person? I think that's important. And, what is the communication style, and is that communication style work for me?
Yeah, I like those. I think, and based upon my style, I'm going to ask, what have you read? What books? Because one of the things is I want a coach to be constantly learning themselves. They need to be a constant learner, not just relying on something that happened in the past. and I'd also ask them about the mistakes. What mistakes have they made in the area that they are coaching in? Not in necessarily in coaching other people, but just in general, what mistakes have they made? And I say that because I think, at least for me, coaches learn. The best coaches have learned from mistakes. And the other thing is that, you know, people oftentimes look for experience. And I think experience is critical, but I think the best coaches aren't necessarily the best players. And that's you can see that in sports really easily, because natural players oftentimes don't know how to break down the play into the steps necessary. It just comes to them naturally. So a natural player may not be a great coach. A journeyman player is probably going to be a better coach. And that's kind of the sports analogy. But the coaches have to have success, but they may not be the very top of success in whatever they're doing. The struggles are important for a coach.
I like that. I like that a lot, because it's a struggle that I had recently, and I haven't lost the client, but he did convey in the first meeting that he wanted to work with a coach that had very specific experience in a very specific vertical. And I said, it's not me. And I'm sure that we have someone with close to that experience. The reality is, though, what that person was looking for was help with prospecting and building his pipeline. So that's what we're good at, not necessarily that vertical per se. And he was he was new to sales. And so it was part of his insecurity. It's like he wanted someone to hold his hand and say, this is exactly how you're going to sell this product. Well, now as I talk about it, I should have said, well, there's someone in your organization that can tell you how to sell your product. That's not my ballywick. That's not my forte. My forte is like, how do you go out and have a conversation with someone? But he was so hung up on that. And he wants to talk again in 2 months, so we haven't lost it. But he was like, I'll be really honest with you. I really wanted someone who had that exact experience.
Well, so they're not open to expanding their viewpoint. They're not open to what is true diversity of thought. You know, they're looking for an echo chamber of what they already know, or what is in this very narrow, no radical differences. Yeah.
Interesting.
Any other things people should look for? We've got subject knowledge, credibility, personality compatibility, communication style, being constant learners. What have they read lately? What mistakes have they made? Having learned from mistakes. Not necessarily about experience, but being more of a natural coach than a natural player.
I would also think that, like, if I'm looking for a coach in a specific area, I want them to, I'm searching for the right words clearly, for them to be able to kind of inspire me to do the work. So there's like, I need somebody who has some opposite qualities of what I have. Like, I tend to be a squirrel chaser, so I need a coach who is going to keep me on track. So, you know, sometimes that's a danger in certain partnerships, where if people are too similar, right? We were a little worried about Gina and I being too similar. We just have to keep a little distance and we're fine. But like, I wouldn't want to hire a coach that is as wide open as me, because I need someone that's going to keep me a little calmer, be a little more analytical, because I don't tend to be that, and also be able to keep someone like me on the right track. So like, I'm a handful.
The yin to your yang.
Right.
That's a great, yeah, and an accountability. Someone who is, Rachel mentioned this before. It's someone who will hold you accountable. And some coaches check in and check out, and are only there in the moment. Others are there when you need them, and I think that's key. Can they be there when you need them?
Mm-hmm.
And I stress that all the time. I'm like, I will be the person that when you text me at 10 o'clock on a Friday night that you're freaking out, I'm going to respond to you and make time for you. Am I going to give you a full hour? No, that's your one-on-one time. But I'm going to be responsive to what your needs are and either give you a tool, a suggestion, or a pep talk or a kick in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
These are good. Thank you for helping me write this blog.
So that's what today's podcast
There's always
was about.
a reason. There's always a reason. So Keith,
helpful.
tell us what you've been up to since we haven't had you on the show for months and months.
You've been like hiking Machu Picchu.
So just give us like a little highlight reel.
Yeah.
No special highlights. I've just been super busy working with my clients, advising them, helping them scale, having some great successes.
Yeah.
So
do you have a big highlight success you want to share with us that you can share?
No, one of my clients sold, and so that was really good. That was probably the biggest success from a client perspective. One of my clients is going through a little self-inflicted pain right now, so that's a big project, but takes a lot of time.
Is her name Rachel?
I'm not in pain right now.
No, I'm
just
teasing.
sorting through the wreckage.
I'm teasing. Go ahead. Go on.
Doing that.
How's your social life been?
My social life is always wonderful.
What did like adventures and have you been? What have you been? Where have you?
I have not done any adventures. Did a little bit of whitewater rafting and fishing down remote gorge in Colorado back a few months ago, and I have been spending a lot of time on the bicycle because I've got a 7-day 7-stage ride coming up next week.
Ooh, where?
So
where's that?
it is in beautiful Iowa.
Oh, Iowa's very beautiful this time.
Is it flat?
It's actually a little bit more hilly than you would expect.
Okay.
But it's a classic ride, not a race. It's just a classic ride. It's a ride across Iowa. So,
are you doing that by yourself or are you doing that with anybody?
that is a huge ride. It is so big. There's a lottery to get into it. And I can't remember how many thousands of people ride it
Interesting.
together.
That sounds like a bunch of
organized rides.
People that like torture. Is that kind of?
It is. And it's also been quoted as a rolling party.
A rolling party.
Yeah. If you can consider biking 90 miles a day and then all these other for 7 days and all these other things a party. But they route it through a bunch of little towns in different routes every year in Iowa, and all the little towns. It is the big deal. Everybody turns out.
Bucket list.
Yeah.
I'm not. Nope. Bike riding for 90 miles a day through Iowa, not included in things I want to do.
Don't knock it till you see it.
That is not something I'm interested in.
All right.
And it's good to know.
Okay. How's your son doing?
My son is doing well. He's actually living at home right now. Yeah. And now I have somebody cooking dinner for me every night. I've never experienced that before.
No one's ever cooked for you on a regular basis?
No.
Really?
Since I left home, my mom. So no, I love to cook, so I usually am the one cooking.
I know.
So but my son loves to cook, so now he's the one cooking.
Fantastic.
Men who cook. # men who cook.
I think men who cook are very sexy.
I got a man who cooks. Thank God. He's amazing.
I got a man who cooks.
And I don't have to cook. I'm happy to clean, but I'm not that good at cooking. I will cook you the most boring plain chicken breast and some frozen peas that ever there was.
I made a wicked shepherd's pie this week.
And we digress.
We totally do. So how should we wrap up this episode?
It's rogue. There's no real way. We're done, I guess. Any parting?
That's a lame way to wrap it up.
This must have been the cleanest rogue episode we have ever done.
I didn't say the F-bomb a lot.
No, you did, but only in quotes.
No, I'm like, now that she's not swearing, I'm like, freaking.
It's not like I'm swearing off swearing. I'm just trying to be a little mindful about being my best. I put it in my directive affirmation that I always speak about, think about, and write about positive things that make me at my best.
All right, so let's do around the world takeaways from this rogue episode of The Women Your Mother Warned You About. Let's start with Kieth. Kieth, what's your biggest learning and takeaway from this?
Well, just the power of coaching. I don't focus a lot on coaching in my business. I do mentoring, like I said, but there is a very powerful aspect of coaching if done well. Mm-hmm. And in talking about it with Rachel and listening to how she uses her coaches, I think it's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel?
My takeaway would be about leadership, and that one of the most challenging parts of leadership is to make decisions that are going to be most beneficial for the organization overall. And sometimes that might hurt people's feelings. And that's their problem, not mine.
Exactly.
Yeah, they get to own their own feelings, don't they?
Especially if I'm doing it in a place of constructive feedback.
I'm torn between, I might give this one to you, Rachel. Did Rachel say it or no? No, maybe Kieth said it. I think Kieth said it. I don't know. One of you said it. It's based on the Wooten on leadership. Be the very best you can be and do it with character.
Yeah. Highly recommend the book.
Yeah.
It's so
it's
good.
A classic.
It is so
I have
good.
to go get it since it's not Audible, and I'm going to have to learn how to read again. So
yeah, it's 100% fire.
I also like the a natural player is not necessarily the best coach.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I like that.
Gina, you're from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan probably would not have been a great coach.
Did you watch that series?
Yeah.
The Last
Dance? Oh, I love it. So good.
It was a great series.
David got me into it.
So good.
There's one more. I've got to watch the last episode, but he's like, you should be into this. You're from Chicago. And I was amazed by it because, I was there and I was at a lot of those games in the late 90s. And actually, the things I could tell you about Michael Jordan hanging out at bars that I was hanging out at, that's a whole nother story behind the scenes that they did not cover. It was really interesting to me I was like, wow. Like some of the moves, not just on Jordan's part, but on Pippen's part, on some of the behaviors, like you want to call yourselves leaders within that team, and the way they let their team down. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's interesting. So interesting.
Yeah, if our listeners have not watched The Last Dance, you don't have to be into basketball. Like take the leadership lessons that come out of that. It was amazing to me, and
it's also spectacular basketball. So it's fun to watch. It's like incredible.
And just Phil Jackson, like all the things about Phil Jackson.
Now his book is really good too.
Which one is his? 9
Rings, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very good. And same thing about how he led that team. And, sports are such a great analogy for every organization because it's sometimes not as tangible when it's a sales type of thing of like, what is the goal? I mean, in a sports situation, the goal is win. And so you have a very specific direction you're going. And with sales, it's sometimes like, which client is going to be the big win and which wins are big wins, so it's a little bit different, but the styles that Phil Jackson and Wooden use in terms of leadership of their teams are useful in any scenario.
Yeah, super cool. All right, well, this has been fun having the gang back together.
Absolutely.
Let's keep the gang together. Let's do more of these with you, Keith.
Let's do it. You guys are working so hard. Let's find time to squeeze it in.
We are, Keith. We're going to get better. I know that Nian's on me right now on the rest of our recording schedule, which I'm going to work on this weekend. And we had to push out a lot of episodes for Outbound, so
here we are again. I probably will be over my quitting swearing by the next time we get together, so we'll just be able to get into crazy subjects again.
Stay intentional.
Fuck no. God.
It's okay. Side note before we go. So I was on this trip to northern PA with the boyfriend and his son. And he's so, I mean this in the nicest way, so geeky about our show because he loves our show, truly. And he made me listen to like 3 episodes in the car. I'm like, do I really need to listen to our show?
That's more than I've listened to all year.
So he plays the episode. I'm like, oh, you got to listen to the episode about customer service because I was so geeked up about the computer place that screwed me and the Jiffy Lube story. And so Nian like picked out the opening, the cold open, and was like, you got to be fucking good at service. I'm like, oh my God. That's how it started in the car. With a 14-year-old in the back seat, and I literally turned 12 shades of red, and I'm like, sorry, bud. Sorry for that.
Yeah, it's better than the exploding penis episode. That probably would have traumatized a 14-year-old a little more.
Listen, he played it for him. Wait a second. No, he didn't just play it for his son. He played it for everybody at the 4th of July party. He kept saying, you got to hear this. And I'm like, stop it.
The exploding penis episode?
He kept playing it.
Oh my God.
That's a good one, though.
But it's a good one.
That is a good one.
It's a good one. It was topic of conversation with...
I believe that's episode number 43, ladies and gentlemen.
It's actually episode number 35. I know it well now.
35.
Because
35.
He's pulled it up a few times, but this is how I was introduced to the family.
I think I brought up the exploding penis, so your credit, you know.
Well, that's how the show starts, is exploding penises. To an audience of people that were just meeting me.
So. Yeah, it's perfect. That'll make them think twice about messing with you.
He still gets a kick out of it. So there you have it. All right. I think I'll keep him. All right. I think we got to go.
Yeah.
So
it's been fun, you guys.
It's been fun.
It has been.
Let's wrap up this episode of The Women Your Mother Warns You About, sponsored by Sales Gravy. And if you need to be a learner who's an earner, go to salesgravy.university to check out all the courses, including a new one coming up from Rachel, Fanatical Sales Fitness. We are super excited about that. I'm Gina Tremarco. You can find out more about me at the Sales Gravy website or womenyourmotherwarnsyouabout.com.
I'm Rachel Pitts, and you can find me basically the same places. And if you would be so kind to share this episode with anyone who has questions about coaching or leadership, that'd be helpful so we can spread the love.
And Keith?
And I'm Keith Walters, and you can find me on LinkedIn or through that Women Your Mother Warns You About website.
Awesome. We're out of here. Bye, guys. Bye, Warners.
This really will get serious soon.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. I don't think anybody wants it to be serious.